Hello everyone, and welcome to our second tutorial video on reading graphs for peyote stitch. My name is Erin Peña. I've been beading for about 20 years, and in 2025 I was awarded a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board to create this series of video tutorials. I have a separate video going over the tools and materials I use, but briefly I use Fireline thread, 4-pound, and Miyuki Delica beads, size 11. So in our last video we went over a triangle, and that pattern was mirror symmetrical, which means it was symmetrical top to bottom, front to back, all the way around symmetrical. And this pattern is as well, but I wanted to keep this one symmetrical and not progress to the slightly more challenging patterns for this next one, because as it's a different shape, there's something else we're going to have to be keeping in mind. So when we bead a triangle, our place in the graph, our starting point in the graph, row to row, doesn't change, because every single increase is the same, 2 in the corner, 2, 2, 2, until we're ready to stop. When we step up, we're stepping up into the same position. But with a hexagon, our increase cycle is 2, 1, none, 2, 1, none. So that means that when we step up, we are stepping up into a different position, and that makes our thread path move across the pattern in sort of a diagonal. You'll see the way the thread path moves as we progress through the pattern, but the challenge for this practice piece, isn't going to be so much reading the graph as keeping our place in the graph. Okay, so with that, let's get ready to get started. There are 15 rows in this graph, just a couple more than the last one. We're going to end on a no corner again, and I will be showing the graphs step by step in the corner of the screen. It'll be a bit small for you, most likely, depending on the size of the screen you're watching from, I suppose, but again, all of those images are going to be available for free. As always, my furry roommates are present. They may or may not disrupt this recording. I may or may not edit that out later. We'll see how disruptive it is, but just so you know. Okay, so first things first, grab your thread, wingspan's worth, no more than that I would say. If we need to stop and tie a new thread off, that's easier, I think, than trying to work with too long of a thread. So, row 1. We have these 6 A's. This is our beginning ring. 6 A's tied in a knot. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lovely cinnamon color. Slide it all the way down. Leave a couple inches of tail. Tie it in a square knot. It's okay if it's a little lumpy, it'll shape out later. And these are all the same because we're doing a symmetrical piece. Hooray for making things easy on ourselves. Okay, so your knot is going to be in between, let me see, your knot is going to be in between 2 beads here. Sew your needle through the next bead, clockwise or counterclockwise, it doesn't make a difference which direction you choose to go. I go clockwise. Thread through that bead next to the knot in whichever direction you're going, and just give your thread a little tug until the knot is inside the bead. Speaking of cat disruptions. Miss. Okay. We can see, yes, knot inside the bead, more or less. Okay, that was row 1. Now on to row 2. Row 2, we have B bolded, so that's a corner bead, times 6. So we're going to pick up 1 B and put 1 B between each of our beginning row of beads. This lovely, sort of a soft gold color. It's an AB shimmer. Just one of my favorite finishes. 2, 3, 4. Trying not to get caught. 6, let's see, okay. And when we step up, we go through this bead and this bead to step up. You may have to pull a little tightly to get it to snug in. There it goes. Okay, that was row 2. Now we're on to row 3. And 3 is a no corner. And it's C, 1C, times 6. This is the only time we're going to use C. So I only have 6 beads placed out here because I'm a nerd and I like to count. So you will recall from our hexagon tutorial video, or from any of our shape tutorial videos, honestly, that most of the shapes have a couple rows in the beginning that are outside of the normal increase cycle. With the hexagon, it's these 3 beginning rows. And after this, we'll move into the 2, 1, none pattern. Okay, stepping up. Okay, on to row 4, and that is BB bolded, so the corner increase beads, times 6. So pick up 2B there, and in we go. We're not yet at the part where our step up is different, because every row has only had one, well, not every row, every side of every row so far has only had 1 needle pass required to complete it, so there's nowhere else to step up to. Okay, and when we step up, split those 2 beads there, coming out of just the first one. Okay, on to row 5. Now row 5 is B bolded, D unbolded, so 1 B in the corner, followed by 1 D along the side, times 6. And this is our last row for the bees. Get my thread looped. Step up through these two. Okay, row 6 is no corner, and along the side is 2D. So D, D. And I believe at this point, what I am going to do is, for each of these rows, I'll do the first couple sides at regular speed, and then I'll speed up through the rest of it, and by speed up I mean like speed up the camera, not like bead faster. I can't bead faster. Speed up until the end, when I'll slow down for the step up. Okay, last D. We'll go through this guy here and this guy here. Okay, we're on to row 7, and this is the point at which our thread has started to move. So before, we had, with the word graphs, read all of our rows as starting at the beginning, right? It was those 6 A's, then B, then the no corner, B, 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 no corner. Now, on row 7 here, you can see it starts at FF, but we're not in the corner. Corner's over here. We're along the side. So, we are starting with that D, and then looping back around to go FFD times 6. F, ooh, pink, starting our pink. FF, D, FF, D, we'll do that all around. Okay. Now, we started with the D, so we still need our FF for that side. So that's what we're ending on, that FF. Stepping up through that first D we placed. Real quickly, you might have just noticed me pick up a bead and then discard it, shuffle it off to the side. It is too thin. It will make the pattern weird and wonky. Like, I don't know how well this is showing up, but it's about half the size it needs to be. So that's what I was doing there. Okay. All right, we're on row 8, and once again, we're not starting at the beginning with that bolded F. We are starting with the second of two Ds, right? So the full row would be F, D, D, and our thread is coming out right here. So D, F, last row for the Fs. Oh, got caught. Okay. F, D, D. Okay, and here we are back at that first side that we started on the end of. So to finish it up, one F, and then that first D. And there we are. Okay, here we are starting row 9, and once again we are starting not at the beginning of the row of the side as written, but sort of towards the end. So G, E, G, here's where our thread's coming out, so G. And then we start over on the next side, G, E, G. E, G, G, got stuck, G, E, G, and all the way around. Come here. Okay, and now we're back at the beginning of that first side. See, there's that G we already placed, so G, E to finish it off. And step up. Okay. And you can see at the end of this row, we have stepped up into a corner again. So we're back at the beginning of the word graph as written. Okay, on to row 10, and that is GG in the corner, 2D along the sides. And we're back in the corner. So, GG. Thread's getting stuck. That's what happens when it's too long. Okay. And again, GG. 2D. This will be our last row for the G's. Step up, coming out from between these two here. Row 11, and we're still coming out of the corner here, so we're at the beginning again of the word graph as it's written for the row. So H bolded, so one H in the corner, then H-A-H along the sides. So H, this nice semi-matte baby pink. H, A, cat hair, how'd that happen? H. Okay. And again, H. H. A. H. And all the way around. Okay, here's our last H. And it's a little tight, but here we go. Okay, oh, we're getting a nice pink ombre there. Okay, row 12, we're still at the beginning of the row of the written word graph. So that's H, 2D, H. So H, D, D, H. Again. H, D, there it goes, D, H. One thing I want to note here is that if you do end up stopping your thread and starting a new one, if you don't stop in the middle of a row but stop after you've just finished a row and then you start it from a different position, then your place in the graph will change. Which might seem obvious, but you know, just to say it out loud. Okay, go through the rest of this row. Okay, last bead, H, stepping up. All right. Okay, row 13, and we've once again moved out of the beginning position, so the corner will be DD, but we're starting on the first bead of the sides, so DED. Thread's all tangled up. D, E, D. Okay, and now we've made it back to the corner, so DD, D, E, D, and around. Okay, and our last two beads for the row are going to be those two corner beads of our first side, stepping up into the side. All right, we're on row 14, second to last row, and we're again starting in the middle of a side here. So our row goes D in the corner, D, 2A, D, and we're starting on the first of those two A's right here. So A, D, okay, D in the corner, D, A, A, D. Again, D in the corner, D, A, oh, again got A, D. Okay, and all the way around now. Okay, and finishing up that first side that we started in the middle of, we've got that D in the corner, and then one more D here. Okay, stepping up. Okay, our last row, it's a no corner, and it goes D, 3E, D. So D, E, 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 D. And we're starting in the middle on the second of those three E's. So E, E, D. And now from the beginning, D, E, 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 D, all the way around. Okay, finishing up that first side. D, E. Okay. I'm gonna weave in our threads now. You could have woven in the tail before then if it was really bugging you. I don't mind the tails all the time, so I was just ignoring it. Anyways, do your figure 8. Make sure all the thread is sunk. That's what I'm looking at right now. Looks like it is. Okay. Grab my needle and weave in the tail thread through a couple of beads. Okay, trim it off. Alright, there's our little hexagon buddy. Okay, so hopefully that thread path journey made sense to you and is now something you're, aware of, I guess. Next time we'll be doing the pentagon. Let me show you. Give you a sneak peek. And we are, it looks very shiny in this light. We are moving away from mirror symmetricity. Is that a word? It is now. We're moving away from that. So each one of these sides is still the same, but it's not the same front to back anymore. And it will make a difference this time if you do clockwise or counterclockwise. So I bead clockwise in this direction, but if you bead counterclockwise, your pattern will end up like this, flipped. Nothing wrong with that. Just, just one of those things. Okay, I'll see you all next time. Let me know if any part of this didn't make sense or if the technology that I am choosing to use doesn't work for you for whatever reason. I'm still figuring this out as I go, so I'm always open to suggestions. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.